I feel like I should go. Nah, I'm just gonna end this and then go. Ich möchte jetzt es probieren, ein bisschen das auf Deutsch zu sagen. Gestern Nacht habe ich ein Video von Eckhart Tolle geschaut und ich habe bemerkt, dass Eckhart Tolle einen sehr starken deutschen Akzent hat. Und ich habe mich bewundert, ob er Deutsch in seinem Alltag benutzt oder, naja, weil ich glaube, dass er nur Englisch oder fast nur Englisch konnte. Weiß ich nicht warum. Vielleicht, weil ich weiß, dass er sehr populär ist in englische Medien. Und so, naja, das war so wie eine Überraschung für mich. Und was noch? Ba, 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 ba. Ja, heute wollte ich und jetzt im Spezifisch will ich ein bisschen über äh, Grenzen oder, ja, wie sagt man, Boundaries sprechen und auch um das Ziel, das wir alle haben oder fast alle haben, um glücklich zu sein. Weil ich viele, naja, ich habe viel im Internet gehört und ich habe auch viel daran gedacht und jetzt fühle ich, dass ich eine gute Idee habe, aber ich weiß es auch, dass ich keine komplette Idee habe, weil ich werde noch mehr daran denken und ich werde noch viel mehr diese Philosophie, die ich habe, anbauen. Aber ich möchte jetzt sagen, alles, was ich jetzt habe, was ich zu diesem Punkt im Kopf habe und im Herz und in der Seele habe. Okay, so. um, yes. Whew. I didn't want to go deep into either of these themes. Uh, Either like the search of happiness or the boundary setting or like you setting boundaries kind of sort of thing. I didn't want to go deep either in either of these themes because I just wanted to talk whatever I was just like talking to myself just a couple of minutes ago. Okay, so I now see how important it is to know, well, not now, but this, whatever I'm experiencing in my life right now has reinforced the fact that it is very important for you to know yourself. Because if you know yourself, then you can pretty much just like, yeah, just be out there and go out there and be certain of who you are, and it helps you build this structure, so to speak, within yourself in such a way that it doesn't matter like where you go or who you are with or what you see, what you observe. If you know yourself, you're not gonna move from yourself, and you're not gonna be like influenced by external voices to change yourself in order for you to feel like those changes that you do to your very essence are gonna take you to a path in which you are happy. Okay, let me just like explain a little bit more about whatever I have been thinking. I I am currently because it is a very long podcast, and I am really excited to know whatever they have to say, um, like throughout the whole thing. But I have been listening to this podcast of Mark Manson and his like friend. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, regarding boundaries. And one of the things they say is that to know how to set a boundary, it is important for you to know what your values are. And that they also have another podcast in which they go around like this values thing and whatever. But something that I have learned, and yesterday I heard to Eckhart Tolle a video of him regarding like happiness, and I wanted to join those two things today. I feel like I do need to go check on my phone because yeah, wait. Turns out I did have to go check on my phone. That gut feeling never lies, bitch. um okay. Jesus. Oh, I realized, and not now, but a couple days ago, that I was confusing precisely that thing of setting a boundary with trying to control the other one. I was trying to control whatever the other part did and trying to change whatever they did not do. But moreover, I was just mistakenly setting like a boundary, but from a place that came from emotion, from a place that came from something that I still yet have to heal, which in this very specific case is anxiety. And the fear of fear. I was just trying to set something, aka a boundary, from a fear place and from a place of sadness and of anxiety. Emotions come and go, and you can work on anxiety, you can work on fear, you can work on on just stopping to identify yourself with these two things like fear and anxiety. You can work on yourself so that you stop feeling, or so that you stop normalizing that your identity either is these things or revolves around these things. You can find ways to cope with your anxiety and with your fear and with your sadness, but if you do, because there's this also this other thing in which, and I do believe it, like I feel like one has to work on trying to achieve balance in life. Hold on. And to know when to do something and when to not. Namely, namelijk, when to act upon something and when to work on something and whatever, and when to be like, you know what, even if this happens, I will do it. Let me be more specific. I do support this idea of being like, if this person is just like too busy on his work, and I feel like he's not really having time to be with me right now, or like if this friend is working a lot on a different project and therefore we haven't been able to see each other for like months now, I'm starting to feel nervous and anxious, and I'm gonna just go and be sad and mad with them and whatever, when it is just in that moment where you're feeling like that, and because those things are kind of like triggering things within you that you have not healed yet. And well, in that case, I do support the idea, or this like I do support this idea of being like, yo, you have this anxiety problem because it is triggering whatever you felt as a kid, like, oh my god, my mom is working, my dad is working, or my mom is just out with her friends, then that means that I might not be very important to her or to my dad or whatever, and I'm a child, I don't understand that they have their own lives, and so I feel abandoned, and I then normalize because I never know how to heal being a child, because being a child I haven't experienced life yet, so it's like in a much more full way, in order for me to know that I am the one who has to heal, and that they are not they are not guilty, neither am I, but both parties are, we are both responsible for whatever we have to do, whatever we say. And even if people say bad things to me, or if my parents didn't really show me love, then like then you grow either to keep this mentality of, oh, they're guilty and I am guilty as well, or whatever, and I hate them and whatever, or you grow up to be like, it's to understand life in a much more like a fuller way. um Wait, yeah, I do support this of like, okay, I have to work in my anxiety, I can go do grounding, I can breathe in, breathe out, I can journal, I can remind myself of things that they have done, in order for me to like, so yeah, to calm myself down and to be like, dude, this is just anxiety speaking to you, and you're letting it speak too loud. So let's just go do some grounding. Let's just go and write something down. Let's just go and distract our brains. Let's just go and see reality for what it is. Because objectively speaking, your partner or your friend, they do genuinely like to spend time with you. They have shown you that that you can count on them or whatever. But and yeah, in those cases I do support that like thing of like, okay, step back a little bit, it takes some time, and see things for what they are, and not don't see things for what your anxiety or your brain or your ego is are telling you that they are, you know? But I also do support the idea that sometimes you might be feeling like fear or anxiety or sadness, and nevertheless, you're just like, you know what, I'm feeling like this, but it doesn't matter, I'm still gonna stand up and make my bed. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna still stand up and go to the gym. It doesn't matter, I'm still gonna go and finish this work. It doesn't matter, I'm gonna. So I do support both ideas, in which sometimes you are going to want to step back, take some time, and see whatever's going on. But some other times I do also support this idea of you like being like, uh, yeah, despite this burdening feeling that I am feeling, I am going to do this. And with that being said, yeah, um, I think with whenever you want to set a boundary, well, first of all, you don't have to. And as mentioned, this is something that I just learned a couple of days ago. You don't want to be doing that from a place of fear, or from a place of anxiety, or sadness or depression. You don't even want to be, you want to be like as far away as possible from just pure emotions and from a pure emotional state. And you want to you really want to connect with yourself, and to remind you who you are, and what your values are, and what your heart, your very core tells you that. Hmm. Yeah, and I really like these examples that were given in the podcast. For example, Mark was like, for example, a boundary would be like, first of all, uh, knowing myself, I know that I appreciate my health, and that my health to me has to do with having a good night's sleep. Sleeping for like hours and early. You know, I don't like to go to bed late, because I feel like that alters like the way in which the brain works, the body functions, and yeah, I'd rather like sleep early and wake up early than sleep late and wake up late. So my boundary is going to be like, I don't, and this is something very important as well to understand. It's not going to be a rule, and boundaries have to be flexible, right? Um, so yeah, maybe this person doesn't like, or Mark doesn't like to go to bed at midnight or like past 11 or 10 p.m. But then it comes this part in which it has to be flexible, because if it is my birthday or my children's or my wife's birthday or my best friend's birthday or whatever, or I'm on vacation and they have at the hotel a very special event that is going to be late at night, then of course I'm gonna want to be flexible with that boundary of mine, and I'm gonna be like, you know what, this is a very special occasion to me, so I'm going to allow it to be this way, and to just like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna go to bed late tonight. But if I'm on a daily basis and one of my coworkers maybe, or one of my friends, even if it is a best friend, just goes like, hey, how about tonight we just for no reason just like go drink late and then go to sleep late, and I don't know, then there's a moment in which he would set a boundary and he would be like, you know what, man, I appreciate it, but I really value my sleep and I want to be able to sleep like for lots of hours tonight. So, but how about we go take a coffee? So this is very important as well. You have to be able to explain, uh, because this is something that I feel like it can help with whenever you feel like, or you wonder what if it is actually coming from your values and whatever, and the fact that you know yourself, or if it is coming from your emotions. If it is coming from your emotions, maybe explanations wouldn't be like easy, or they would not have like logic, and they would fall into this category of being like, well, i i need I need it to be this way, or I want it to be this way most of the times, because otherwise I feel anxious. And I'm trying to think, for example, like if in this case this person or Mark didn't know themselves, and they would try to set this boundary from a purely emotional place, they would maybe go like, they wouldn't even know that it is because of that sleep that they value their health. Maybe it would be something like, because I have an obsession with this number, with the number 10, and if I see that it moves forward from that number, aka 11 or midnight, then I'm going to feel really like anxious, and I'm gonna feel like I'm failing at life. That would be like, dude, what? And then like you can work on that, because that is clearly some OCD shit, and you have to work on that. But he knows himself, and he's like, I value my health, and I know that being healthy and trying to stay as healthy as possible involves having a good night's sleep. So therefore, my boundary is to go to bed past 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or midnight, whatever, just on special occasions. And those special occasions, of course, you also have to define what those special occasions are. Uh, it has to do with you. Something I really liked as well, whenever I started to get to know more of this thing about setting boundaries and knowing how to set them, is that you um is that it has to do with what are you going to do if that boundary is crossed, and not about trying to change the others. Because sometimes, and I did fall into this thing, I tried to change the other person, the situation, and this is where stoicism comes in. There are things that by definition you're not going to be able to control, and actually in life there are way too many situations that you are not going to be able to control, and you have to be okay with that. Yeah, Buddhism, Stoicism, people like Eckhart Tolle would just be like, you have to be okay with that, and you have to accept it. Sometimes I'm not gonna be able to control everything, and then I started to wonder, where does this like feeling and sensation of wanting to control things come from? Because you want to avoid feeling pain or feeling uncertainty, or you don't want to feel uncomfortable. And so that's why you're trying to, your mind tells you, because I feel like people are so used to having a very altered nervous a very altered nervous system. And I feel like whenever your nervous system is so altered, then one of the symptoms is that you live a lot in your mind, and you kind of like go back to a very primitive state because this reptilian brain works in a way in which it just wants to defend yourself and to protect yourself, because it feels like danger is everywhere. And so it hates to feel uncertainty, and it hates to feel uncomfortable, and it hates to feel sadness and anger and whatever. And so it's trying to make you control everything in the external world in order for it to avoid, in order for you to avoid feeling like bad. But if you work on your upper chakras, if you get out of that marca de la bestia, which is the fact that you're only living with your 3 lower chakras, then, well, yeah, you're just gonna operate with your reptilian brain, and you're not going to allow higher knowledge to come to you, which is things such as whatever I heard last night from Eckhart. He was like, do you think life is here, or do you think you're living life in order to always be okay? How did he say it? He said something along those lines of like, dude, life is here to challenge you and not to always make you feel like, oh yeah, you're safe and nothing bad is gonna happen. This toxic positivism, right? Of you never have to like disappoint anyone, you never have to fail, you always have to be happy, and you always, when, dude, life has boredom. Life can be boring sometimes, like life can be very monotone sometimes. You can feel disappointed, and you can disappoint others. That's where also this other theme of people pleasers would come into place, because I have thought about that as well. Like, people pleasers feel like it is bad to see someone sad and to see someone mad, because and to cause discomfort because of who they are. And so they're always putting these masks of like, yeah, I'm gonna always be smiling and I'm gonna adapt to the situation. You become so conscious, but not in a positive way, of your surroundings, that you're constantly reading the room so that you can adapt your conversations and your way of being to whatever the situation in the room is, in order to be liked by everyone, in order to, but moreover, in order to not cause this discomfort, in order to not have like fights, or to hear someone's voice raise, or it's very toxic. Because, and this is something that I really liked also learning from Mark, that he once said, you will be very boring if you don't let people know you for who you are, and accept once and for fucking all that you, by being you, will not be liked in every single aspect by every single fucking one. And that is so true. Oh my goodness, that is so true. Because one of the problems that I started to notice that I had as an ex-people pleaser, I really hope I'm on the right path to just not becoming, not to just stop following that path. But at the same time, I'm like, if I fall again into these steps of being a people pleaser, let it just be a very few times a year, a month, a week and not be it, let it not be like every single day. Because now I'm also like kind of like wanting to have this mindset of, yeah, sometimes life's shit, and sometimes you're not gonna like it, and sometimes you're not gonna be okay or feeling okay, and it's okay. Like, you're not gonna die, and it would be very boring, and you would not have any growth whatsoever if you were to feel every single time very happy or in ecstasies or whatever, because that would also make you, yeah, be or have way more shadow than light, to just try to escape life and not accept that life will challenge you, and then not every single thing that, because I feel that this is also something very toxic, the fact that it is, yeah, things such as, if you want it you can have it, yes, but not every single thing. Like, because sometimes there's also this way of thinking of being like, you have to do a lot of efforts to have whatever you want, but, and yes, but for some things, because there, I've been thinking that there will be some things that maybe you had in mind, that you wanted to do this or that you want to do this, but if you also learn how to be in a flow state sometimes at life, because life also asks you to know how to just flow and go with it, you will then figure out that some things are not meant to be either right now or not in the exact way that you wanted to, or they were not meant to be at all, and that's okay. Like, yeah, you know what I mean. I need to go somewhere. But like, yeah, life is sometimes going to suck, and this is something that that I was really striving away from. Like, for a long time, I was forgetting the very nature of life, which is not for you to be always comfortable and not for you to be like always feeling okay. Life can be shit sometimes, life can be boring sometimes, and you don't have to use those things in order to be like hopeless and be like, oh yeah, then I'm gonna get depressed and everything's going to be bad anyways, I'm gonna die a day, so like, what's the sense of me trying to be better or become a better person? Well, in those cases, I'd say that it, well, something that I kind of like have realized, it's that it is not about trying to reach a state of happiness in which you're happy forever, but rather like a state of peace. And that, but and why do you want to be at peace? Because being at peace allows you to not be moved, even if there's a huge storm, even if uh, the trees and the flowers are blooming and everything is beautiful, even if it is really cold, even if it is really hot, even if you are at a beach, or even if you are like, I don't know, like at school, just like very bored or whatever. Doesn't matter. Even if yeah, whatever happens, whenever you have you, and you know who you are, and you know that you can trust you, and you're gonna be okay with you because you are at peace with yourself, then nothing is going to move you. And on the contrary, you are not going to, you're going to avoid most of like, you're mostly going to avoid feeling bad, because you are going to accept that things are how they are, and you're not trying to be happy, you are not trying to be sad, but you're just trying to let it be, let it go, observe it, and observe the situation to know when is it that you can do something about it, when is it that you cannot do anything about it, and when, yeah, when is it, when, yeah, you can also be able to know like, okay, I have to now stay back, step back, or I have to approach the situation. I don't know. I have been thinking that to this question of like, why do you want to be at peace? Well, I'm not gonna lie, I want to feel okay most of the times, in the sense of like not suffer. I don't want to be suffering all the time. I don't want. Will I avoid that? No. I I will have to go through some shit, and maybe through some of that shit I will suffer. But what are you willing to be feeling bad about? That is also why it is very important to know yourself, because if you if I like to be okay, and if I don't want to be feeling anxious, then I am going to be willing to do some shadow work and be like, hey, where does this extreme anxiety come from? From these places. Okay, will I ever avoid this type of situations to happen in my adult life? No. Will they sometimes replicate in my life? Yes. Just by statistics and by logic, they will. But the thing is, what am I going to do about it? Because I do like to take care of myself, and I don't want myself to be feeling anxious. So whenever these type of situations happen, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about those things, and how am I going to try to fix it? What am I going to try to change within me? Or what am I going to try to do different or to do in order for me to recognize and accept that, yes, I'm feeling very anxious because of this situation. I accept feeling anxious right now. What can I do to stop feeling anxious? And with this, I'm not saying to ever stop feeling anxious, because that's not gonna happen. But accept that it will happen, accept and know how to recognize that, and to be like, have these coping mechanisms in order for me to go away. Because I feel like it is sometimes like badly seen whenever someone is like, yeah, I want to feel okay. You're a human being, of course you're gonna want to feel okay. The thing is, you have to accept that you're not gonna be able to feel okay with every single person you talk and with every single situation that you go through. And so this is when these important things come into play. Like, what are you going to do? First of all, know yourself and know when is it, what things trigger you, that. And if you can avoid those things, then perfect. But if there are situations that you are not, in which you are not going to be able to avoid those things that trigger your anxiety, or that trigger you feeling sad or feeling angry, and they happen, then of course it is important that you have had done this work of being like, yes, there will be these situations, but I'm not gonna be a crybaby about it. I'm gonna be a grown up, and I'm gonna stand for myself, and I'm gonna be like, okay, maybe you're at a meeting, right? And someone is saying or doing something that triggers you. Yeah, things, bad things. You're not gonna just stand up and go. Yeah, that's why I'm like, you have to be the grown up and be like, okay, I'm gonna accept that this whole meeting I'm gonna be most probably feeling this way because this is something that is clearly triggering me, or this talk that I'm having with this person. But I do value this career I'm at. I value this work, so I'm gonna say I value this relationship that I have with this person, and I accept that not every single thing about this person I am going to like, just as much as this person is going to like every single thing from me. So I'm willing to go through this uncomfortable situation, through these even triggers, uh, but I know that it's not gonna be something that I cannot deal with, in the sense of like, I value this way more than not having it at all. You see what I'm trying to say here? I hope so, because I just also want to move to the next thought that I had, which is your pursuit of happiness. As I said, because I was wondering and I was asking myself, why do you want to set this boundary? And why were you confusing it? Confusing the I'm gonna set a boundary for I want to control this person. I understood it, whatever, and then I was like, okay, so given that you have now been able to separate yourself from the emotions, do you still want to set this boundary? And do you still think that it is okay that a boundary is set regarding this situation? Or that you first have to assess yourself and be like, dude, you are feeling really anxious and it is not the other person's, like it has nothing to do actually with the other person. It is something that has to do with the voices of the ego that you have been letting talk to you for a fucking while. And I was just like meditating and pondering and reflecting on this, and I was like, breathe in, breathe out. Yes, okay, I do feel anxious whenever this happens. But now that I understand where this anxiety comes from, I feel like it is also something that I don't want, because if this happens, it's like this is making me feel disconnected from this other person, and I don't want that. I because I value. Oh my god, I just figured it out. Light just came and talked to me. Don't you just love whenever you're like talking and then you out of a sudden like channel whatever God and the love had, like it just helps you. It just helps you channel whatever it had to be channeled. See, I now figure it out, because I, quite honestly speaking, before this, I didn't really know how to put it into words. But it's very important that you also know how to put it into words in order for you to let the other one know. I knew that it was because it used to be from a place of pure emotion and of pure like anxiety that I wanted to avoid this situation, and therefore I confused the setting a boundary thing with the I want to stop and avoid myself from feeling anxious, so I'm gonna try to control you and I'm gonna try to threaten you. If this happens again, then whatever. When now I understand it is something that I have to do. So what is it? What is it that I value? I value feeling a connection with someone, whether we are physically together or not together. In this situation, we are not physically together. Therefore, I feel like it is more important to not lose that connection through communication. In the past times, it would have been with letters, handwritten letters, whatever. They would take forever to be delivered to each other. Thank God, and thanks to technology, we now have this thing like WhatsApp or Instagram or whatever, in which we could talk to each other. So, I appreciate having communication with this other person, given especially maybe that we are not physically together, although I know that it is also like sometimes a shitty thing for some people, that even when they are together physically with someone, they don't have this communication. But that's not what I'm talking about. I know that in person we have it. It's just like it has been pretty like hard for me to deal with the fact that this person is not good with messaging, and that triggered, and may sometimes it will still trigger my anxiety. I now understand that it comes from a place in which whenever I was a kid, I had this thing of like well, my parents didn't, and I don't blame them, but they didn't do the best of them work of them jobs like at making me feel safe and secure and loved. And that's why whenever like I don't really get to know about the other part, I start to feel anxious, and I start to feel like maybe there's something wrong with me. They don't like me. They don't want me anymore in their life. They're thinking about like that they don't want this relationship with me anymore, and I'm gonna be alone, and I'm gonna be anxious, and I don't want to go through a sad situation anymore, whatever. I understood that it came from such a place, which is what made me mistakenly set a boundary, which was in fact something like, hey, I want to control yourself. I want to control you. Sorry, I want to control you, and I want you to stop doing this. I want you to have more communication via messages with me, because that way I will help ease my anxiety. When, girl, you have to firstly know how to assess and to ease your anxiety by your own, and then accept that some situations will trigger that anxiety. But what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do whenever this anxiety gets triggered? Because, and first of all, why do you want to stop feeling anxiety in these kinds of situations? Because I want to feel okay. And that's whatever I was telling, I was like saying a couple of minutes ago. I'm a human being, and I'm gonna accept it. I want to feel okay because it feels good to feel okay. However, as a conscious human being, I will know that I won't be able to feel good every single day, every single time. But what am I gonna do about it in those cases? Like, because there will be moments in which I'm just gonna let it be and be like, okay, yeah, I accept that I'm not feeling okay right now. I accept that I want to cry, that I want to get angry right now. I need to step away and just don't harm anyone. And most importantly, don't harm me. So whatever. But there will be also situations in which I will have to act upon that and be like, okay, in this very specific situation, this person is talking shit about pretty much like life and whatever. I don't need to be listening to this. Or like, this person is giving me their opinion on my life, and I'm not really feeling it, baby. So I'm gonna step back, and I'm gonna maybe just like stop uh talking to this person who's very toxic. What, there are moments in which you will be able to do something, and moments in which you won't be able to do something. And these two scenarios that I just described, did you notice how it had to do with me? Either I move away, but I don't change the other person. I'm not trying to change the other person, or I accept it and I stay away for a while, but I accept I am not feeling my best now. So I'm just gonna let it be. But I was not like, I'm gonna try to change the situation in order for me to, no. It's just like, sometimes you have to accept it, sometimes you can act upon that. And if you act upon that, you have to have in mind that sometimes even if you act upon that, you are not always going to get the best results. This has happened to me regarding especially my mom, because I used to um, subconsciously and unconsciously try to control the way that she gave me love, because I felt like she never gave me love when I was a kid. And so as a grown up, I wanted to kind of like control how she gave me love and what she did. And now I came to understand that it is okay, and I did whatever I could in order to sometimes give me justice, but certain situations aren't gonna change. And she's going to live her life the way she thinks she has to live her life, even if that means that I am going to lose connection with her. Not because she's not doing some. The thing is, I'm not trying to force her to do something, but if I have already expressed, like, hey, if this happens, then I feel really sad. I know it's not your fault, but I would appreciate it if you try to, I don't know, like, just stop ignoring me whenever I try to tell you something, and focus on external things instead of focusing on a conversation that I want to have with you. If I already have said that and things don't change, and things like kind of like stay the same, and she's still doing her thing, then what am I going to do in those situations? Like, I'm not going to try to change her, because I already tried to talk, not change, but talk. But this is going to cause, because there's this boundary again. I value listening to others just as much as I like to be listened to. And if this is not something that is going to happen, then whatever is the consequence is going to be is that I am going to just try to stay away from you, because I don't like to talk to people who just want to talk but don't want to listen to whatever the other has to say, you know? Or, yeah, I'm not going to go into detail with this very specific situation, but yeah, Yeah, that was my boundary in whatever happened a couple of days ago. I value connection. I know that connection uh, is not only through something physical, but also through communicate. I value connection, and I know that it is also achieved not only through uh, a physical like thing, but also through communication, and through something spiritual, and through something intellectual, but in this very specific case, through communication. And if I am not able to get that communication uh, compromise from your part, then whatever you are going, this situation is going to cause in me is that I am going to want to step away, step back, and I have to take care of myself. I'm going to have to disengage for a while. I won't be able to tell you how long this time will be, but yeah, I mean, like this no communication thing does not work for me. I'm not going to try to change you. But because the thing is also that I feel like in any type of relationship, you have to be willing to do the effort to do something, even if that puts you in a place in which you are stepping out of your comfort zone, right? So, for example, something uh, that I have noticed and that people have told me is that, for example, whenever I get into a conflict with someone, I am the type of person who starts viewing things in a very logical and cold kind of way. I detach from emotions, and this is something that I have been criticized a lot uh, for, that I seem completely emotionless, that I seem to be like a rock, an ice cube. And that frustrates people, and I need in those situations to just stay away for some time, think things, try to understand them, because that's the way in which I function. I want to see the logic, I want to understand, I want to sometimes even repeat the conversation in my head to see, like, okay, because I was feeling so stubborn, I didn't realize till now that whatever they are saying is right, and I fucked it up in that sense. But some people like to try to solve the conflict in that very moment when everything's being heated up and whatever. And something that I have learned, like in any type of relationship, if, for example, something like this happens, the other person has to be willing to step out of their comfort zone and be like, sometimes, okay, I will allow it for there to be a period of time in which we don't talk, so that you think your things through and you do whatever helps you. In that, I'm gonna distance myself from the situation moment. But, and there will be times in which I will have to allow for me to step out of my comfort zone and be like, even if you feel the need that you have to step away and that you have to step back and just not be there in that moment, there will be some times in which I will allow this in order for me to put the effort into trying to solve that conflict in that very moment. The thing is, again, like, you have to know yourself, and you have to know whatever the heart tells you. And the heart tells you, like, you know what, this is not a relationship that I value, or that, yeah, that I love. Remember that everything, the basis of everything is love. If I truly love, not from emotions, but from your essence, your heart, your core, from love, if you don't love it from love, out of a loving place, then again, don't confuse this love that I'm talking about with an emotion, because emotions come and go, but rather of a state of being, then okay, I'm not, this effort is not this, I'm gonna step out of my comfort zone situation is not going to be worth it. However, if you love that relationship from a loving place, from love, if you let love speak to you and you love it and you value it, you're going to be like, this is worth it. It's worth it to step out of my comfort zone in this thing and make an effort. And it won't feel like I'm forcing myself to, no, it will be like I'm making an effort, even though this is not the way I operate. And the same will go for the other part, you know? And something very beautiful that I have learned throughout the years is that whenever something is reciprocated, not only is it beautiful, but also it is pretty obvious. And you won't have to be wondering whether if it will be something reciprocal or not. It was just like, you will see. You will see that from time to time this person will be willing to step out of their comfort zone, and then they will not be feeling like I'm forcing myself to do it. It will be like, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. And sometimes they can even be literal with this. For example, I have had these situations in which this person would be like, I'm really, really wanting to fix this with you right now, right fucking now, but I am trying to control myself, trying to breathe in, breathe out, in order to accept that you are going to need space. Just confirm to me, you are going to need space, right? So that we can fix this later on. Yeah. And some other times, I might not have been literal with that, but I stayed there, and I was like, breathe in, breathe out, and okay, I really would like to step away and go understand the situation on my own, but I'm gonna stay. Because this is worth it. This is what I have with you is worth it. You know, it is something very like beautiful, whatever, but that also comes with maturity, by the way. But yeah, like something real quick that I want to say, and I can go through it in a much more detailed way later on in a different video, is the thing about happiness. Like, it is okay if you want to feel okay. It is valid if you want to feel happy, if you want to feel okay, if you want to stop feeling like unmotivated or like very like overwhelmed or whatever. You have to accept that those moments form part of life, and moreover of your life, but that you are powerful enough in order to choose what is it that you are going to do whenever such a situation presents itself. And again, either you can opt for the acceptance, and that acceptance is paradoxically, would some say, going to help you move towards the opposite state. AKA, like, if sometimes I just feel really sad or really depressed today, one day, then by accepting that, it is that I have found that it is actually that you can come out of that feeling and be like, you know what? I'm not actually that depressed as I thought I was. You know what? I was feeling very sad this morning, but turns out I just had to ground a little bit, or that I just, yeah, whatever, I just had to sing, you know, or sometimes just accept it. Like, yeah, you know what, this situation made me feel rejected, made me feel like abandoned, or made me feel ignored. It's making me feel sad. Just acknowledge it and be like, but I'm not gonna fight this feeling. I'm just gonna accept it. And I'm gonna take care of myself. Give me a hug, like, give me some comforting words, like, it's okay, you're gonna be okay, I'm here with you, I know you're feeling sad, but hey, here I am, and no one knows you better than I do, so you can tell me absolutely everything you want. And you're just like treating yourself as your own psychologist or whatever, and you start feeling okay because you are validating whatever you are feeling, aka accepting whatever you are feeling. But also there will be other times in which you will observe. That's why it is very important for you to become an observer and be like, okay, here I can actually do something. So hey, why am I allowing this person to talk like this? Like, this is being a very toxic conversation that this person is wanting to have with me. I'm gonna just say no to that and be like, hey, you know what, I don't talk like that about others. Or hey, you know what, I'm not liking the way you're talking about yourself, because it also no, it's just very toxic, and I don't, or like, you know what, I'm not liking the way you are expressing your opinion regarding my decision to make this. I wanted to share this idea with you, but now seeing how you are reacting, not that you have to change your way of reacting or not, but I'm just realizing that it is not something that is going to be good for me, because it is going to be something that will uh put in my mind these toxic things, and so I will want to stop chasing my dreams, and in this situation I can step away from you. So yeah, I'm not gonna stay here to listen to you, all of your bullshit being like let out of your mouth. You know what I mean. And yeah, also that thing of like, sometimes you don't feel happy or whatever, just accept it. And sometimes if you can remove yourself from a certain situation, you do it. If you don't, you accept it. And you, what are you going to do to move from that situation? It is not what am I going to control, or what am I going to try to change in the exterior in order for me to stop feeling in this situation, trapped in this situation, but rather, what am I going to do? What can I do right now? Sometimes it will be something very physical as going from that place. Sometimes it will be something very physical as saying to the other person, no, stop it. And sometimes it is going to be like just like accepting it and being with yourself, and taking care of yourself and loving yourself. And yeah, boundaries, knowing what they are, how to set them. And yeah, whatever I said before, it is going to be something very helpful for your life. And yeah, whatever. I think that's pretty much it. I want to go now, do some things that I want to do, that I enjoy doing. Anyways, eerlijk gezegd, ik wil nu een beetje Nederlands leren, omdat omdat ik hou van talen te leren. Of ik weet het niet of dat correct was, maar ja, ik weet nu gaan verder met mijn leren van Nederlands. En ook misschien ook een beetje Frans wil ik vandaag leren. En ja, oui, oui. Je pourrais aussi faire ça, mais je ne sais pas. Et je vais aller à faire la chose que je veux faire maintenant. Merci beaucoup de m'avoir écouté et peace then. Bye.